let's bring on Adam William Cahill. Adam, how's it going, man?
Merry Christmas, brothers. What's the story?
You got to turn yourself up, Adam.
Yeah,
we need your insights, but we
not
can't
loud
hear you.
enough.
On my way down.
There you are. There you are.
You're
Okay.
right now.
Better.
Yeah. How are you, mate?
Cody Mack already gave me a warning to make sure I was using the good microphone this time around, so shout out to Cody.
He's like he's your personal assistant now.
This is it, yeah. Now he's giving himself a job. That's great stuff. Yeah, no, but glad to be back, which is especially after a game like we've just seen. I mean, you guys said it during the watch along. Once we saw the red card being given to Zaha, I mean, like it was game over, and it was just a pleasure to really just sit back and enjoy it. It wasn't like watching the Carabao quarterfinals where you're just like, there's palpitations the whole time. It was just an enjoyable Boxing Day experience.
And did it make it even more enjoyable, that victory, because of what happened at Selhurst Park earlier on in the season?
The revenge.
Yeah, the way I would describe this actually is poetry, because we ended up with such a, the margin was great. 3-0 victory is, you're not going to look at that. You're not going to see that happening too many times in a season. So 3-0 victory is amazing. And then to see a red card being given the other way, because with Tanganga, what happened to Tanganga?
Isn't that amazing though?
Poetic to see it happen this way around.
It is like kind of poetic justice. Isn't that crazy? Like kind of like very similar thing happens, like a first half red card basically throws you off and you're in a hiding to nothing. Yeah. I would say our 3-0 was way more stronger than theirs. Like, you know what I mean? They kind of got like Odson Edouard came on and scored two late goals. Where this one they had no chance. No, they had one. They were in our box once with a corner in the second half. So that's
still no shots on target. Like they didn't get a single shot on target. So yeah, no, definitely. It was for at least when we were there, we gave them a fight. Whereas I think this time, I'm not saying I don't want to be too insulting to them. It's not as though they weren't trying their best, but it didn't seem like we weren't worried at any stage during the game. We started off a little bit slow. I think Harry Kane, again, he considering what we're used to with Harry Kane, his touches at the beginning of the game weren't the best. I ended up texting that to my dad, and then a few minutes later he scores. So I was like, okay, well that touch was pretty damn good. And then I think Tanganga as well, playing in that role instead of Davis. There were a couple of moments at the very beginning of the game as well where he lost the ball needlessly, and I was like, is it going to be an issue here? But then for the rest of the game, he was fairly solid in that position. So it was literally only a little bit shaky right at the start, and then we just it was clear sailing. Especially after the red card, but we did. There was no way you could fault us from that point on.
I find it really strange, Adam, that I was sitting here watching the Spurs game, and there were no nerves whatsoever. I was so comfortable, so calm all the way through. And by the way, Aston Villa have just gone 1-0 up against Chelsea.
Oh, wow.
So happy days. But look, I was just sitting there really calm. Is that in itself the Conte effect? Is that what the Conte effect is?
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say, the Conte effect is fairly undefinable considering the amount of implications that it has, but that's definitely one of them for sure. You're going into a game like this where we know that typically speaking, when they come to us, they don't do too well, and that's before we even had Conte, who was. I mean, think about what he has done to the quality of each and every single player on the pitch. There's not one of them who hasn't stepped up their game. Now, Kane's not back to the heights that he was, but he's getting his confidence back. He's got his shooting boots on again. Compared to
you don't think Kane's back?
I don't think he's back to it. No. I to be honest, after 2 games, two goals, I wouldn't say that he's back. I mean, look at what he was last season. Yeah. Top goal scorer and top assists. He's not.
Does he need a brace to get Adam Cahill back on side? You need a brace, my son.
He needs to get the Golden Boot and Playmaker award to get back on side for Adam, I think.
But that's the standard he'd set for himself. It's not like I set that standard for him. He did that to himself. And at the end of the day, I think it's either he needs to come on and he needs to be scoring in the Premier League against a solid team, or against a lower team, but as you say, do a brace, or he needs to be scoring in almost every game for at least a certain run. 2 games is not enough, So,
but Adam, does it even matter too much? I mean, when you're looking at last season, everything was going through Son and Kane, right? Everything.
Yeah.
this season you're getting goals from all areas of the pitch, all different parts of the pitch. So maybe we don't need Kane to be what he was last season.
If Sanchez had to put his shot away, I'd have been tap dancing around the room. Like literally, there's nowhere on the pitch that we can't score from. But no, you're right. I think what we have now, I think, is more solid, because at the end of the day, if we, last season, if we had have ended up with an injury situation with Son or Kane, we'd have been in big trouble. Whereas now, if one of them is out, please God, that doesn't happen. But we've got Moura scoring, we've got Bergwijn scoring. There are other areas where we can someone can fit in and at least do a job. And again, that is, again, that's Conte, like the level to which he's able to bring everyone to somewhere where they either haven't been in a while or have never been before, like a Davis. But I think like Lucas Moura today, definitely man of the match for sure, involved in both of two assists and a goal. He's someone who is just like, I think at the moment, he's the one who's impressing me the most under Conte. It's like he's decided to revitalize himself. He's been rejuvenated, and I think that one of the things as well is that apart from him just doing what he does best on another level, he is playing in a position that is much better suited to him, because putting him out on the wing, he was just constantly running into the corner. He's got the pace, so we know he's going to tear away from people, but running down into the corner, when he's not the kind of person who's going to put in them crosses, or he's not going to put in them incredible passes, he's the one that you want making the runs, with that acceleration, getting through people, pissing past people, and getting into a scoring position, or being able to slide that a short pass into somebody else. But the fact that he's playing in it, as Conte says, himself and Son are playing as two number 10s now, and that's the ideal role for the two of them, because they're a lot more central. Both of them are far more likely to get goals, and to give Kane that little bit of a cushion as well, that he's not the only person we're depending on.
But so, saying that, he has upped his kind of crossing as well. He's managing to get like really clever, the cross for Son to read Son's run and hit him perfectly on the front post. And then like you were saying, like his pace as well today. That ball from Emerson was a little bit heavy. It was still a good ball, but it was a little bit heavy. He put Lucas under the pressure to beat the centre back, and he was like 4 paces behind the centre back, and he beat the centre back and put a pin perfect pass across. So like he's seeing
5'7". He's 5'7", and he's
and he out jumps Anderson, and that's a proper centre forward goal. That like to pick the ball, spread it out, and then get right into the centre and outbeat a 6-foot defender.
I was worried the goal wouldn't stand, because he absolutely clobbered him at the same time. Do you know what I mean? He didn't just get up with the ball first. He took Anderson to the ground.
Yeah.
But no, it was an absolute fantastic striker's goal. And considering it was only about 10 minutes earlier, he had a header that he put wide. I was like, oh dude, you've got to be putting those away.
Yeah.
And then, but second time was a charm for him, and it was an incredible strike. I think he said, in one of his post-match interviews earlier on a few weeks ago, he's like, I know I'm not a killer like Son and Kane. And I was just thinking, why not, mate? Just, like, don't go into a match with that mindset. You absolutely need to be thinking, I can be a killer like Son and Kane. I'm going to go for it. It's all about confidence. It's all about having a positive attitude. And
that's what Conte said, didn't he? In like one of the post-match interviews, he was like, he had a great game, and he was asked about Lucas, and he was like, Lucas should do more. He should be that. He wants him to be that guy. And it's interesting that Lucas.
That's what we've been saying consistently. Yeah. I mean, I know I have, and Simeon has for a while now, that because of the attributes the guy has, we can see that he has it in his locker. He's shown it in spurts, but we want to see it on a consistent basis from Lucas Moura. That's the real point here.
Yeah, I think every single player can be elevated when you have someone like Conte there, because I think I said this before, but the reason that Liverpool are the team that they are at the moment, I believe, is because Klopp is a father figure to those players, and they want to go out there and they want to play for him. And now we have a manager who is a father figure to our guys, and they don't want to let him down. They really don't want to let him down. So they're going out there and they're playing as though each and every one of them is saying, this is going to be my prime now. I'm going to give the best. I'm going to play the best football I've ever played. Mm-hmm. And long may it last. I really hope that it's not a situation where we only have Conte for a season or 2 seasons. I really hope that he feels like he wants to make Tottenham his big kind of, it might not be the end of his career kind of run, but at least it should be hopefully it's a good chunk where he can say to himself, I came into a club that hadn't won anything since 2008, and I made them one of these best clubs in the country. Because at the end of the day, we're in the top 5 now after the West Ham loss today, and we still have 3 games in hand over most other teams. There is no reason not to believe that we'll be top 4 this season, playing back in the Champions League again next season, and then who knows from where we can go from there. And there's still an opportunity for Carabao Cup or FA Cup. There's no reason to think that we can't get our hands on that trophy this season, seriously. And considering that we wouldn't have said anything remotely close to that a few months ago with the exact same players. You know what I mean? I still think he's going to do something incredible in January. But with these players, even just now, you're thinking, what are we capable of doing? A lot more than we thought with these guys. So, I mean, again, Conte is he is the man.
Yeah, he is the man. And just before I let you go, one more player that I wanted to talk about that I don't think you've mentioned is Ollie Skipp, who I thought was absolutely brilliant today. I mean, surely that England call-up's got to be coming soon.
Is there any challenge that man can't win? I think the Tottenham Hotspur Instagram page posted it at in the West Ham game. That slide he did in his own box to make sure that we cleared the ball, and it was literally just outside of the post, getting rid of it. The caption read, "This is Oliver Skipp's world. We're just living in it." And absolutely, 100% spot on. That guy just owns whatever part of the pitch he's on. It's like, this is mine, guys. I am king of this hill. And there are times where he's pulling off. You don't even because there are times he's at a certain distance away from a player, an opposition player who has the ball, and you're thinking, okay, he's just marking him. No. He's going in for tackles that other players wouldn't even consider doing, and he's winning.
Yeah, he wins the ball back a lot. He wins even if a player's got distance on him, he seems to get back. I think that's an underestimated part of his game. His bursts over 5 to 10 yards. He gets back on opponents and then puts a touch in. And today he did it a couple times where it's just him hassling the guy, forced the guy to kind of and then another player came in and just easily walked away with the ball. And that's another part which is such a strong part of his game. But some of the slide tackles, there was one where we were kind of attacking and the ball went a bit loose off a pass, and it just looked like we were going to lose the ball, and it was going to and then he did a sliding tackle out of nowhere and just got the ball back to our player in the gate, and we kept attacking. It was Jesus, you just didn't expect it. You're just watching it oh, okay, fine. And then he's whoa, Super Skips just slid in from nowhere and won the ball back. It's
absolutely. In terms of
amazing
the stats,
stuff.
I'd love to know how many times that we have maintained possession because we lost it, but then Skipp immediately comes in and is no, we're keeping this, guys. Sorry about you.
And countless that happened today.
And then how many times has the guy gone in for a sliding tackle from behind and won the ball? That's an incredible skill, because most of the time you go in for a sliding tackle from behind and you're taking the guy down, and you're almost certainly going to get a yellow. But
him and Reggie have that technique really well, where they slide, they predict where the guy's going to be, so they slide alongside him, so then they get in front of him and then they hook their foot back ground. Paul Lambert used to be someone who used to use that technique all the time. I used to see it, and it's such a beautiful technique where you go down, you slide, you don't touch the player, and then you hook your foot round, and it's horrible when it happens to you, because you're you see a guy go down, you're get out of here, and it's oh shit, the ball's gone. It's a beautiful technique.
It's like the 360 sliding tackle where he comes from behind and then ends up the other side of him. It's just how the hell have you done that?
That's a crazy skill.
It needs crazy timing as well, because it is risky, because players, if they get that's your technique of how to slide, players can always just lean into you or fall over you, and but he does it. He's one of the players for the first time in a long time who does that technique absolutely perfect. Lo Celso used to do it quite a bit, but Skipp does it with strength as well.
But you know what he's doing for January by doing that as well? I think it was Sim has said a few times that Højbjerg he's like a jack of all trades but a master of none, whereas Skipp showing himself to be a master of certain things. If we bring in someone like a Kessie or a Grilic or whatever in January, which one of those two, if we're playing with the two in the middle, is going to lose their spot?
Well,
I would drop Højbjerg right now. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think that
Or at least you'd rotate. At least you can go like.
Yeah, you definitely rotate.
For me, I think we need to be looking at that 3 in midfield as a consistent
That's
lineup.
exactly what I wanted. Yeah, every time that I said to you guys I wanted to play with it was a 5-3-2, not a 5-2-3. I would definitely prefer to see, but there's not a tremendous difference when Moura is willing to come back and play so deep. But at the same time, yeah, no, I think we are more solid with a 3 in the middle.
It is amazing that they've got. It's a really good point you make about the differences between the two. We were saying like the gap between Højbjerg and Skipp, which is a nice problem to have, is completely gone. You couldn't tell who's been playing the game longer. Højbjerg's a well-respected world player. You know, everyone knows that he's got great quality.
100th best player in the world.
Yeah, and he's also incredible over a certain patch of the ground. But we need someone who can play in that. If you're going to have that like 3-4-3, you need one of the players in the pivot to be a world class. Either you want a regista who can pick the ball there, and then a playmaker who goes forward. So you need that, and so that's why if you're looking at players like Grealish and Kessie, like you kind of have that. And I would say if you get Grealish, maybe you don't need Kessie, because then Skipp can do Kessie's role. Grealish can do the regista from the back, and then they can double pivot, and Grealish can be a 10 in many ways. He plays the game like phenomenally, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
anywhere in the middle of that.
Isn't it crazy that what's happening now, I think, is that Conte's kind of renaissance of many players actually kind of hones us in a little bit better into really what we need, rather than like the kind of speculation of, oh, we need this player, that player, we need a, you know, like we actually can see we need a better wing back. We need a kind of player who can play as a regista or a playmaking midfielder. You know, we kind of can see clearly what we need, and it's so good to actually have. If we have Højbjerg as a rotating player, that's really strong, because we know how good he can do the job. If we've got Skipp and a Grealish or Kessie, Jesus, I think you're talking about, you've just increased your ceiling by quite some standard.
And it's so weird to see a Harry Winks trying to get himself into the team in similar positions as well. Like I've maintained for quite a while now that I don't think I'd ever be able to forgive Harry Winks for knocking us out of the FA Cup last year. But if
the worst cameo of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, it was absolutely atrocious. Like I was pulling my hair out, but like, you know, if he wants to come back and try and make up for his mistakes, if he wants to come back and show us that there is a Winks renaissance going on, okay, prove it to us. But like,
I think you're almost certainly going to see him in the Southampton game, because he did have too good a performance in the Liverpool game to be left out for 2 in a row. So I think we want to see if he comes in against Southampton and he has an absolute shits the bed, then we know, like, okay, it was just a shop window performance.
Window situation,
yeah.
Well, and we also probably will get either more of Nombelli, or maybe Lo Celso come back into the team as well. And it's just amazing that we get a chance to kind of, that we're rotating players that we were so worried about, that we saw playing against Moura and wrecking things, and now we kind of, you can see Conte giving these guys a chance, and we don't have to really have our heart in our throat the whole time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's such more exciting than the individual renaissances is just the Tottenham renaissance, because now we are going back to where we ought to be, which is top 4, and I have every belief that that's where we're going to end at the end of the season.
All right, Adam, always great to speak to you, especially after 3 points, and the 3 points are coming thick and fast at the moment. So Adam, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you next time.